Harrison Price from the historic Wall Center, and we're joined now by the most famous German in British Columbia before Thomas Müller's arrival in August.
Yes, I was like, I think there's another one, but yeah.
It is Manuel Veth from TransferMarkt from his home in Victoria. Hello, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Enduring 24 more hours of rain and misery before we all heading to Miami. So, yeah.
Well, some of us are headed to Miami, Manuel. Some of us are headed to Dawson Creek, BC.
Sorry, Blake.
Buddy, this has got to be amazing stuff for you. As a guy who spent his first 17 years in Germany, moved to BC in 2001, and now has like Germany's most famous footballer ever here and playing for this team and playing for a trophy. Like, this has just got to be mind-blowing stuff.
Pinch me kind of
moments.
moments.
Yeah, exactly, Manuel.
Well, it's weird, right? Because like a few years ago, we had Alphonso Davies move to my birthplace in Munich.
That's true.
And now Thomas has come the other way. So it's the second time that it's a weird pinch me moment. But yeah, and it's fantastic. It's fantastic for the city. It's fantastic for this club. One of my first jobs in journalism was to cover the Whitecaps as a beat writer for an outlet called Pro Soccer USA, all the way back in 2016 it started, right? So 10 years ago. And back then, no one would have thought they would ever be in an MLS Cup final the way the franchise was trending. And this year has been so magical. It's the second trip to Miami, right? To play a big game there this year. I was in San Diego on last weekend for the semifinal. And, that too felt so very special. And there's just so many moments this year that have just been franchise defining, right? Like the run that they had in CONCACAF Championship, then the very good regular season that they were playing, then out of nowhere Thomas Müller signs, the Canadian Championship that they won, Müller's that put Thomas Müller on top as the most winning German alive in the sport, which is a big deal. And then of course this run in the playoffs, which now, is culminating in this meetup between Müller and Messi, which had so many storylines already to begin with. And I think it is not crazy that Müller and Messi are involved in this. I think the crazy part is that the Whitecaps are involved. And I think the other crazy part is they're going there. And I don't even think that they're an underdog necessarily.
No, we were saying that. Yeah.
We talked to you a couple of times back, shortly after Müller's arrival, Manuel. How has this played out based on what you anticipated and expected when he first arrived?
Yeah, he's always been a winner. That is his MO. His mission objective is to win everything there is in life, and he does it in a way that is likable. I think that is the best way to describe it. He does it in a way that is likable. There's so many athletes out there, including the one he's facing on the weekend, who are like almost like robots and machines and not personal and don't seem to have a life outside this game. Thomas Müller has always done it in a way that makes it feel like you and I could do it, right? And I think that is so very special and something that I didn't expect to necessarily happen here in this way that it has, but I'm not surprised that it did, because he was like this in Munich a lot too, right? I've been living here since 2001, but I still go over to Munich all the time, and I cover a lot of Bayern Munich games every season. And he was always the guy who was available to us, the media, right? He would always stop and chat and make a big point out of it. And if he didn't, he did it in a way that was funny, right? Because like he would like hold his wallet to his head and like pretend that he was on a phone or make jokes as he walks through. But like he is a guy who was very personable, and he's a winner. And I think we were all hoping it was going to be a good story, but not this good.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a great point. He's a barstool guy, lowercase b. Like you just feel like if you saw him at a sports bar, like you could sit beside him, have a beer, and just have a conversation like he's a regular person, not this international superstar.
Well, a great objective look at this is Farhan Lal, she's covering for TSN. And I was texting with Farhan last night, and Farhan is kind of a fish out of water here. He's covering the MLS Cup, and it's the wrong kind of football for him, obviously. But he's like, these guys, and Müller in particular, like he's like, they're just great.
They're great.
You know, like he's blown away. And he covers a great sport too in CFL, where they're also very approachable. But having been around the rink too much, it's just a different experience.
Now, the level I was out there the other day for training, the level of cooperation. Of course, obviously these are very heady, happy times for the Whitecaps.
But they're also intense times.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
And you deal with them on a week-to-week basis. And Nathan Van Stone does a great job on the PR side, and they have really ingratiated themselves to our community and to our province.
I think there was a bit of a watershed moment a few years ago with all the scandals. And then Axel Schuster arrives, right? And the effort level since then has been a much better. And this season, of course, phenomenal. And I have to add this too. They're doing all this in probably the most in an environment that it's been hardest for the press to have to work for, right? Because all of a sudden a club that never gotten any attention is getting all the attention in the world, not just from us or Canadian media or national media, but US media. And when I was just in Germany a few weeks ago for the NFL Europe game, and Thomas Müller was in the press every single day there. And this is not just Munich. This was in Berlin. Like, he was in the press. There was like something about Thomas Müller every single day. Every German now knows where the Whitecaps are, and that is new.
Yeah.
So that's a great question, Manuel, because last time you told us like he is Munich and Bavarian to his core, and obviously all fans of Bayern, everybody who's Bavarian or lives in Munich is a huge Thomas Müller guy. But you're telling me Berlin, Dusseldorf, like pick a city in Germany, they are Thomas Müller loyal at this stage.
Absolutely. He's in the paper all the time. It's really remarkable, right? So it's kind of comparable when Lothar Matthäus played for the Metro Stars. There was a lot of press for the Metro Stars. I mean, that is where the comparison ends, because that was not a happy marriage. I think this is a very happy marriage. But it's kind of comparable to that. So this is sort of the stratosphere that Thomas Müller is hitting. But that was in the late 1990s. This is in a time when there's also Instagram and X and
media
all
is
the
just
other
bigger.
social.
Yeah.
It's just it's gone through the roof. Kicker, which is the biggest soccer outlet in Germany, one of the biggest outlets, period. One of the big competitor for the site that I work for. They have a story on Thomas Müller every day on their social media. I think but it's also
Heady
because
stuff.
but it's also because he's so easy to work with.
That's
right?
it.
Yeah, that's it.
I walked into the dressing room after the San Diego game, and he was like laughing and sitting there on a table where he was getting his calf treated and just like joking around. And then he comes to us, and we have a moment to chat before the camera goes on for the Zoom meetings, right? So we're just chatting, and he wears this like toque that I think he's still wearing now because he doesn't have another toque. But I looked at him, and I'm like, look at, like, he's grown this beard, right, which he's now finally trimmed, so that's better. And I said to him, like, Thomas, like I said to him in German, you look like a hockey player. Like, no, I said, like, you're embracing the Johnny Canuck look, aren't you?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I'm looking like then he drops the F-bomb. I'm looking like a hockey player, right? Like, I said to him, like, maybe you should hang out more with Leon. And he's like, and then he said, well, the one thing that I finally caught up with Leon is that I've won a Western Conference final. Now I have to win the big trophy so I can stick it to him.
That's right. Do you think winning the MLS Cup would change his plans? He's pretty much intimated that he's in for next year. He's a lot of money waiting for him next year. And he hasn't played for a ton this year, so it would make sense for him to stick around. But does winning the Cup change the equation here in any way, shape, or form? Does it make him, and we asked him about it, and he was kind of sly about that shortened 2017 season as they switch calendars. But what do you think?
2027.
What did I say, 17? 27, yes. What do you think winning the MLS Cup does to the longevity of Müller here in Vancouver?
I think we'll have to see how next year goes. He's definitely committed for next year. I mean, there's that contract clause that the Whitecaps technically have to trigger, but people that I speak to, that's a done deal.
Yeah.
Like that is one of those clauses that is there for laughs. We all know.
Yeah.
We all know that is essentially already activated.
So they're not going to decline their option on Thomas Müller, is what I'm hearing.
No, that's not going to happen. But then I guess what happens next year is going to be really interesting to see how it works out for him. He has a nice little break in the middle of the season with the World Cup, which could be helpful for him. I think he does have ambitions to go back to Bayern at some point and take an executive role there. And I think this actually what he's doing right now here is really helping with that, because Uli Hoeneß, the big boss at Bayern Munich, said one thing that Thomas needs, he needs to go to North America and learn the trade there, right? On how sports franchises operate, how they do the merchandising, just understand that, because that's what Uli Hoeneß did when he built Bayern Munich into the brand is today. He went to America in the 70s and learned about merchandising and, talked a lot to the NFL teams, etc. So he kind of envisions the same thing. And I think that is sort of like what he's kind of doing on the side. And so I think much of it will depend on how much he can still get out of the learning experience. But, that shortened season is a good example. But, I talked to guys at MLSPA, the players union, and they said there's still a lot of question marks on how contracts are going to work once the calendar gets switched. And so, how are they going to make that work underneath the salary cap? Is there still going to be a salary cap in this form, right? Are they going to be able to maybe sign him to a different deal? What are the Whitecaps going to look like? We all know there were investors at the LAFC game that liked what they saw. So, I think there's so much going on at the moment that it's really hard to tell what he's going to do beyond next year. But, if next year goes well or the same way, or they don't win this year and he thinks that they can win next year and they're on the cusp, maybe that extends his career as well.
From my understanding, Manuel, there was multiple investors in the stadium that night, even sitting beside each other as they monitored what they might put their money into, which is an odd scenario, but
quite a commercial.
Yeah, it was quite a commercial.
If that doesn't set the hook.
It was also badly hidden from us.
Yes. Let's talk about the match here quickly before we let you go. My question has been all week, what the heck is the starting 11 for Jesper Sorensen? They obviously pulled one out of the hat there in San Diego, and I say that only in that I didn't expect them to look that good given the 11 that they had, but they were great. They could just run it back, but they've got the MLS Defender of the Year waiting in the wings, and Ryan Gauld has finally started to look like Ryan Gauld. It'd be very tempting to use those two amazing players. What do you think Jesper does?
I think, Blackman is going to come back in, has to, right?
In V11, okay.
Yeah, you need to, because he's facing an enormous attack. Tadeo Allende has been incredible for Miami, right? It's not just Messi. But that's a good question. How do you make Müller and Gauld work together?
I think it's with three at the back, and I don't know if you make that change this late, right?
Yeah, and also I watched the Miami game against New York City FC, and that game ended 5-1, but there was a time where it looked closer, and Miami eventually picked off NYCFC on the transition. So that is something that you want to avoid at all costs. You want to be compact. You want to probably hit them on the counter as much as you can, which is a good argument to bring Gauld back in if he's fit, right? Because he's a little bit faster. Do you move Müller a little bit further back to help with the ball distribution? Right, you see that with older players, attacking players, when the career advances, that they just transition back a little bit, turn in from a 10 to maybe an 8. Is that an option? It's a good problem to have, and coaches always tell me good players will always play well together. You just need to give them the room on the field to be creative, and I think if Jesper is willing to do that, I think Jesper is less worried about what's happening with the attack and more worried about how the defensive and midfield unit is going to operate. right? Like
Yep.
that structure. I think structure is extremely important for him. The structure to have the players be disciplined when they play the ball out of the back. I think he's not really worried what Ryan Gold and Thomas Müller and Ali Ahmed and Emmanuel Sabi and all those guys are going to do in the attack. I think that part he's like, well, we're just going to let them do whatever they do. It's the stuff behind him that needs to be structured. And if we do that well, the rest will take care of itself.
Do you have a prediction?
I hate predictions because I'm always such a pessimist when it comes to results. I said 2-1 for Vancouver Whitecaps ahead of the San Diego game, and then put in brackets, but I'm worried that they will lose. I'm going to say 3-1 for the Whitecaps, but I'm always worried that they lose.
Your Prince. Manuel, thank you for this. Appreciate the time and the hits you've provided for us this season. Looking forward to Saturday.
Enjoy the match.
Yeah, enjoy the match.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to meet you in person.
Yes.
See you down there.